The stage lights of America's Got Talent had seen thousands of auditions. Singers, dancers, magicians, comedians, all of them walking through that curtain with a dream stitched to their chest. But when Avery Dixon stepped onto that stage, clutching his saxophone like it was the only thing keeping him standing, nobody in that arena could have predicted what was about to happen. Avery was just a kid when the cruelty began. Every single day at school felt like a war he hadn't signed up to fight. Kids mocked him, shoved him, laughed at his clothes, his walk, his voice. He was different, and in the world of childhood, different meant a target. He came home with bruises some days, not just on his skin, but deep in the place where a person keeps their belief in themselves. His mother watched her son shrink smaller and smaller, year after year, like a candle being slowly suffocated. But there was one thing they couldn't take from him. Music. The saxophone found Avery before the world could break him completely. He picked it up and something shifted inside him, a language that didn't need words, a voice that couldn't be mocked, a sound that was entirely his own. He practiced in the darkness of his room when the pain felt too heavy to carry. He played through the tears. He played through the isolation. Note by note, he built himself back from nothing. When Avery stood backstage at AGT, his hands were trembling. He had told himself 1,000 times that he was ready. But standing in the wings of one of the most watched talent stages in the world, with the audience buzzing and the cameras rolling, every insult he had ever heard came flooding back like a wave. You're not good enough. Nobody wants to hear you. Why do you even try? He walked out anyway. Simon Cowell looked at this young man with the saxophone and offered a polite smile. Howie Mandel leaned forward. Sofia Vergara tilted her head. Terry Crews, the towering host, watched from the side. The audience was curious but quiet. Another audition, they thought. Just another hopeful face. Then Avery Dixon began to play. The first note cut through the air like a blade of light. Pure. Honest. Searching. The melody he poured into that saxophone wasn't just music, it was a confession. It was every night he cried himself to sleep. It was every morning he forced himself to stand up again. It was the weight of years of being told he was worthless, and the miracle of surviving it anyway. The arena went still. People in the front row leaned forward without realizing it. A woman near the aisle pressed her hand to her mouth. Simon Cowell, the man who had heard everything, whose expression had remained unmoved through decades of auditions, Simon closed his eyes. He wasn't listening anymore. He was feeling. Avery's saxophone sang the story his mouth had never been able to tell. Every bully's face. Every lonely lunch table. Every empty hallway. And underneath all of it, stubborn, undefeated, blazing, hope. The kind of hope that isn't naive. The kind that has been tested in fire and came out the other side still burning. When the last note fell away, there was a half-second of silence. Then the crowd erupted. They rose to their feet as one, hundreds of strangers screaming for this young man they had never met, united in the recognition of something real. Simon opened his eyes, and for a moment, his composure cracked. You could see it in the way he pressed his lips together, the way he nodded slowly, like a man acknowledging something sacred. And then Terry Crews did something nobody expected. He crossed the stage in 3 long strides, his massive frame moving with urgency, his eyes glistening. He didn't say a word. He walked straight to the judge's table, and he slammed his palm down on the golden buzzer. The golden confetti exploded from the ceiling like a waterfall of fire. The audience screamed louder. The lights shifted. And in the center of it all stood Avery Dixon, the boy the bullies tried to erase, standing in a shower of gold, saxophone still in hand, tears streaming freely down his face. He wasn't crying from sadness this time. He was crying because he had finally made it to the other side of his pain, and the whole world was watching him arrive. Backstage, his mother was shaking. She had held her son when he came home broken. She had whispered to him in the dark that his pain had a purpose. She had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. And now she watched golden confetti fall on her boy and she understood, none of it had been wasted. Not one single tear. Terry wrapped his arms around Avery in a hug so genuine it felt like a scene from a movie. "You came here with your story," Terry said, his own voice thick with emotion. "And you made every single person in this building feel it." Avery Dixon had walked onto that stage carrying years of hurt. He walked off carrying gold. And somewhere out there, in every school, in every town, in every bedroom where a kid is sitting alone right now wondering if it ever gets better, Avery Dixon's saxophone is still playing. Still saying the one thing that needed to be said more than anything else. You survived this far. Don't you dare stop now.